Good evening and welcome everybody. We have Sally Riley sitting in for us tonight. Welcome, Sally.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll start with the roll call.
Thank you. Mayor Levy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carr.
Here.
Ms. Case.
Here.
Ms. Harvey.
Here.
Ms. Labarre.
Here.
Mr. Saunier.
Yep.
And Mr. Sawyer.
Here.
All members are present this evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, if everybody will stand up and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all for being here. We're on agenda item number 3A, and Laura Pellegrino, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm here today to introduce to you Jan Wilson from Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. She is the Vice President, and she will be presenting the Beautification Awards tonight.
Good evening, council, staff, members of the community. I am Vice Chair of Keep Woodland Park Beautiful, and I have to tell you that I am very proud to belong to that group. You'll notice on the monitor there's some information about what Keep Woodland Park Beautiful does. We basically pick up the trash that people throw around. We help with the gardens, and tonight one of the things that we do is we have coupons that we were given by Foxworth for 25% off, and we have them, we keep them in thank you cards. So when we're riding around town, and it's strictly at committee members' choice, and you see somebody working nicely in their yard, keeping their yard up, we like to say thank you and let them know that we really appreciate that they do that. And so we usually give them one of those cards with a coupon in it. And I've been told by Jim that he does get quite a few of those back, so we're happy to hear that. Another thing that we do is a committee member can nominate anybody in the community for a beautification award for their yard. And tonight we would like to honor Cheryl Rasmussen, and Mike and Rita from Gold Hill, and David Langley. I'm sure you've all seen the improvements that they've done at Gold Hill South, Mike and Rita. And we visited Cheryl's yard. Cheryl has a lot of places in her yard where you can sit and have a cup of coffee. And my son would say to me, "Mom, how many places do you need to drink coffee?" And my answer to him is always, as many as I want. And so she's got a beautiful yard. David, we visited David and Lori Langley's yard. Their yard is done a little differently, but David has gone extensive trying to keep out the deer, which we all do. But you did a good job. You did a very good job of it. So. This is Gold Hill. This is in Cheryl's yard. Nope, I'm sorry, this is Langley's yard. And this is in Cheryl's yard. She's got all these little areas that you can sit around and have coffee. And in Langley's yard, they have a place where their grandchildren can play. And you can get lost in their yard and nobody would know you were in there. These pictures don't really show all of that, but you can get lost in there, and they have some beautiful
Jan, could I ask a question for a second?
You certainly
Could you name all the people's names we have up there and point to them individually for all of us who may or may not be familiar? There's also other people involved. I know for sure because David had a master gardener accompanying him. I think they might be related.
That I'm not aware of, about the master gardeners. Is Lori? Lori is a master gardener. She is a master gardener. So, and I do have an iris bed, which I'm told they don't like irises. But every time I'm told they don't like something and you plant it, watch out, it'll be gone the next day. But this is Cheryl Rasmussen. This is Rita. And that's her husband, Mike. And David Langley. Everybody knows David.
Well, Lori gets the credit.
But you get the credit for keeping the deer out.
Jan, thanks very much. I don't want to steal your thunder, but
No, go right
I want to thank you all for everything you do on behalf of the City Council and certainly the citizens, and give all of you a mayor's pin. We really appreciate it. A couple of questions, actually a comment and a question. How the heck do you keep the deer out? Because we all have that issue.
We stand out there.
You stand out there. My deer are looking for food. I don't know. And great job on Gold Hill. Just amazing change, and makes our whole community look better. So thank you very much for that. There you go, Cheryl.
Thank you.
You bet. Rita, there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks. David, you probably have one or two of these,
Probably do.
but thank you very much. Thank you.
It does.
Mayor, I'd just like to comment
I'd just like to comment that Cheryl Rasmussen and her husband Peter also do a lot of hard work around the community here and in the Springs, making other people's yards beautiful as well. So they have a knack for it.
Jan, thanks very much. It's a great group, and they do great work. Okay, we'll move on. We have no additions, deletions, or corrections. And consent calendar. Just approving minutes of August 2nd. Call for a motion to approve if there's no concerns.
Motion to approve minutes of August 2nd, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. Sally?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Case,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Ms. Labar,
Yes.
Mayor Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Saunier,
Yes.
and Mr. Sawyer.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Council. Okay, move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. I see that Ben signed up for this. That means he wants to get in and out. So come on out, Ben. This is the reason we changed it for some of these kinds of situations. Welcome.
Well, glad to be here. I came here for a big thank you. Ben Caperton, 1143 Windflower Lane, 17-year resident of Woodland Park. I love it here. I have incredible news about the 11th annual Vino and Notes Wine, Food, and Jazz Festival that we moved into the new park this year. This was the best year ever. We had an extremely incredible attendance of over 1,700 people. In fact, we ran out of glasses. I had to go buy glasses for this event. We had 72 vendors. It was an incredible. We had a good day with a little bit of sprinkle, but other than that, we doubled the money that we've raised for Habitat for Humanity this year. So it was the best event we've had. The big thank you I have is to the City of Woodland Park and all of the folks that made this easy for me to do. Everybody on the staff, Paul Molina, Parks and Recs, everybody, they make my job so much easier to get this process done and then put on a great event. And I just want to say, cannot thank you enough. Chief, your troops were absolutely fabulous for the walkthroughs and stuff like that. So this was a good move for us back into the new park. We're looking forward to the 12th annual next year, and then hopefully one of these days I get to retire officially. But it was an incredible event, and we're looking forward to the 12th annual. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all of y'all. in the
Thanks.
city.
Thank you.
Here's what I would say, Ben. I say this a lot. Who's thanking who, right? I mean, what you do for the community, that event, who else brings 1,700 people to this town with their billfolds? And I just heard great things from everybody. And a lot of times people just come for events and they attend the event and go home. My understanding from this event is the money was spread around the community. People were walking. It was just exactly what it's intended to do and why we do such a good job with events here. And so, thank you, Jamie, your whole staff, amazing. You work at this thing all year round. I know you do.
Yes, sir.
And you go and get extra glasses at the last minute. So it never stops. It never stops. So we want to thank you very, very much.
You're most welcome.
Great.
Yeah,
It was
thank
great.
you. So we're looking forward to next year, and the new park location is absolutely incredible, and we're really, really looking forward to it. So thank y'all very much for giving me a few minutes of your time.
Tell us how much you gave to Habitat.
$30,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay, any other public comment on items not on the agenda? I guess so. Deb Miller. I was thinking you're always down at the end. You're not going home, are you?
No.
Good.
Deb Miller, 210 East Midland Avenue, here in Woodland Park. I wanted to report out about, speaking of deer, we had our community meeting Tuesday evening at the Cultural Center with the Department of Wildlife. Tim was there and made his presentation. I was pleasantly surprised on a few things. The crowd was over 100 people. Very pleasantly surprised with that because we had about 48 sign up. And great presentation by Tim. We took notes that night. We asked input from the chamber, asked input from the community members that were there. A wide variety of ideas, input, questions that were asked. And I want to thank Councilman Harvey, who was there. And what I've heard and taken away from the meeting at people that were there that evening, we were all pleasantly surprised with some of the questions that Councilman Harvey asked and what people thought. It wasn't my thought process that it was going to be that night. It really came away with very educated people talking about what they want to do about the deer population here. So I just wanted to report that out. And Councilman Harvey, Chief DeYoung was there as well. If anyone wants to add on to that, I wanted to say that we were pleased to do this. It was a great meeting.
I'm going to get in trouble unless we call her Councilwoman.
Councilwoman.
Oh, no, Councilman, Councilperson, Carol, I really don't care.
I don't
really don't care.
Carol.
But I was really surprised at the turnout, too. As Deb said, there was probably about 100 folks there. And there was no one there that said, oh, no, we don't have a deer problem. Everyone there acknowledged the deer problem, but everyone came at it from a different perspective and how we would address the overpopulation issue. And as Deb said, I took the opportunity to just do an unofficial poll of the folks that were there, and I have to say, I think there were a lot of professional archers there. Mm-hmm. So the question that I asked, okay, if we address this issue, we've been given several options that council can act on or the Department of Wildlife can act on without our support. But the consensus was that a managed hunt might be a solution that everyone there could get their head around. And not long guns, but archery. And I'll have to say that Tim, and I can't remember his regional manager's name, but Brian, they did not push any option over another, although they, similar to the presentation they gave us a month or so ago, did talk about some were more optimal than others, but as the discussion progressed on a managed hunt, and I learned this is a phrase that is much more preferred by the particular group that was there, not a controlled hunt, not a regulated hunt, but a managed hunt with bow and arrow. I asked Tim to describe the communities that have used that as an approach. And they talked about Elizabeth and Buena Vista and another town that I don't recall, but a managed hunt is with bow and arrow would be an opportunity to have training. I don't know how many days that training was going to last, and that those that received permission to participate in a managed hunt would be given serial numbered bows. So anyone else who tried to, come into this managed hunt without a serial numbered bow would, obviously pay a penalty. Again, that was an option that this group, generally speaking, supported. There were other discussions of, in fact, someone from my veterinarian's office was there that talked about not sterilization, but birth control. And it seemed like such a great option. This particular individual talked about a much more or a much less expensive approach than we'd been previously briefed on. But again, DOW let that discussion occur, and then they said it is an option if it's whitetail deer and not mule deer. Where I think it is now for us, and Chief, if you would like to comment, I wish you would, there are some things that as a city council we can address. The question is, do we want to wait for the city manager to come on? Tim discussed what happened in, I think it was in Elizabeth. A volunteer kind of managed the program for the managed hunt, but this was something that came under the control of the city manager in Elizabeth. So do we want to proceed with a task force? Do we want to have a committee? Do we want to leave it up to Darren when he comes on board? It's something that can't, we've had 2 presentations to council, and then this, I think, a very successful town hall. We can't just sit back and say, okay, we've had this discussion as a community, what next?
Yeah, you don't know this, and I hadn't had a chance to get a hold of you today, but talked to Tim right after the meeting. I wasn't able to attend, I was out of town. But I think next step is going to be something like you and I and he are going to get together and make a plan for the next council meeting, and then maybe the next council meeting, Tim will come with whatever comes out of that meeting and our meeting, and then have this council kind of help decide on how we're going to move forward. And so he was as thrilled and surprised to what Deb said, as I'm sure Miles too, the number of people that attended, the interest. It wasn't surprising to him that those people that came were adamant and thought we had a deer population issue, and that there was going to be a bunch of hunters there that want to participate. So those are the kind of questions and concerns that he had, but he's excited about everybody pulling together, and how we're going to move forward will be determined by this group right here.
Miles, anything else?
Thank you. I just want to start off with saying I was very impressed by not only the number of people that showed up, but how civil and respectful the discussion was. It's a pretty sensitive topic, and there was parties on both ends of the spectrum there, and a lot of folks in the middle that were just looking for information. So, as Councilmember Harvey said, that if the decision was to move towards an archery hunt, there would be some very strict standards which council will be able to set. That's the beauty of it. You get to set this up the way you want it to look like, to include a very, very strict qualification standard and other components, to include where in the city you wanted to allow it, and how large of an area, how many acres of that property would be used, or would need to be in terms of a minimum size for it to be used on. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do in terms of restrictions for it. I'm just happy that we're discussing it and that we're talking about some form of management plan. Again, I was just impressed by just how respectful everybody was of the varying opinions and how successful it was. I thought that was a great event.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add is that there were community members from outside of city limits that talked about, the deer don't know there's a city-county line, and that our management plan should include surrounding county.
Well, and we might consider asking Dan Williams to come and chat with him and see what his thoughts are as we move forward. But I want to thank Deb, first and foremost, the Chamber, for putting that together. like we've all said more than once already, surprising turnout, a lot of concern in the community. And Miles and Carol, thanks for being there and helping to lead that. And I think we're going in the right direction where that's concerned. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll ask, any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, we have no unfinished business tonight.
You have someone coming, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I didn't know what he was doing. I was looking, I thought you were just walking around.
Elijah Murphy, 204 West Midland Avenue, Woodland Park, Colorado. I just happened to see the news tonight before I came up, before I left to come here, and City of Colorado Springs has been dealing with the same deer issue, and they kind of, all the residents are totally up in arms about hunting or going after the deer, but it does cost, they have an average of 1 accident a day, auto and deer related. So it's one of those things that we're eventually going to have to deal with. Me personally, I vote for spears because you can take a deer down really fast, and they're all tame here, so it wouldn't be much of a takedown. And spears don't travel as far as arrows do. We just yesterday we set the stone and the statue for Eric Dixon. It is in place and ready for the dedication on the 25th. So I wanted to remind everybody at City Council and out there in the community that is going to happen on the 25th, and it promises to be a very special occasion to finally welcome home one of our fellow warriors that fell 50 years ago this last May. And so we'll be there. The UDN will be providing hot dogs, chips, and refreshments for the event, and the group has done a very great job and worked very hard on getting this done and prepared. So, and again, thank you to the City of Woodland Park for providing the spot in Memorial Park. Yes, ma'am.
Could you please tell us the time for the dedication?
11 o'clock is when it starts, I believe. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Murph, great job on that. There was a time where we weren't sure where that dedication should happen, and I think we got this one right. So look forward to a big turnout that day. Okay, I'll try one more time. Anybody else? Okay, great, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 8 and ordinances on initial posting. And Tanner Coy.
Dear Mayor and Council, and everybody. Tanner Coy, 240 East Highway 24. Before you tonight for initial posting is Ordinance 1333, authorizing issuance of additional debt on behalf of the Woodland Park Downtown Development Authority. This is a tax-exempt drawdown bond with a principal amount not to exceed $1 million, a 3-year draw period, debt service amortized through 2028, a lockout on refinance for 3 years, but otherwise no early payment penalties. It will, if passed, will allow the authority to complete the 2018 budget year with all expenses paid and a positive fund balance. Vector Bank, City Finance, and I have reviewed the authority's finances and agree the DDA is able to repay this debt without change to any other debt payment schedules, projected TIF reimbursement payments, or other planned operating expenses. Do you have any questions?
Could you tell us the interest rate?
The interest rate will be calculated with a formula that's the Federal Home Loan Bank 10-year rate plus 2.5% times 80%, which currently is estimated at 4.7%.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Please.
There's been some questions over the period, both in the DDA meetings and here at Council, by you and other members of the community, about the expenses associated with legal defense and the litigation that the DDA and the city has been facing. And so I asked for help from the finance director and treasurer of the DDA to help put those numbers together, and I'd like to share that with the community if I could, please.
Please.
There's been total legal expenses to date paid of almost $183,000. There are $159,000 of unpaid legal fees, including items due to the attorney that represents the DDA on an ongoing basis, which is Paul Benedetti. Total to date for 2018, $342,450.
That's not all for 18. That's
It is
16,
not.
17, and 18.
That is 18. And that is some bills that were incurred in 17, but were not paid until 18. So it does include some prior year expenses that were associated with prior years, but they were paid and actually cash paid out in 18.
Sorry.
Of that,
excuse me, I'm
Yes.
confused. This is the total number, the $337,000, 300
and of that, let me just clarify, Mayor.
Thank
the
you.
litigation is 325.
of that number. That's what I
Yes.
needed. Okay, thank you.
And so that does include, that's year to date, and that does include any judgment that might come from the litigation or the judgment that the judge will pass down at some, we hope, in the near future. But the public has been wanting to know what that number is, and it is a large number. And it is what it is. So I think that's an important piece of information that the public and the council's been wanting to know. Of that, 159 is unpaid but due, payable.
Do we have any sense of, will there be more? Or we don't know that? Have you got final billing, or you don't know that?
This is, my understanding is those numbers reflect final billing, including, what was it, 3,000 something from Paul Benedetti?
$3,140 that's still due Paul Benedetti.
That's not yet billed. That is coming for services recently rendered.
Great.
I'd like to also inject that there has been some savings that the DDA board has provided to their operations through not having staff on board for quite a period of time. And that volunteer board has, by choice, operated without staff to accomplish the savings of about $120,000 net of what they pay the lady that helps us, Lynn Jones, that helps us with minutes and different administrative things, which is part of this expense in total. So that's good information. It's information that needs to be shared. We took the time to put that together and share that with the community, and know that that will be paid in full with proceeds from these bonds, in addition to the city's payment that's due this year as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Mayor.
explanation.
One question, or for clarification or point of information, what is the sunset of the DDA, the date, the projected date?
2032.
2032. Thanks.
Any other questions for Tanner? We're on initial posting tonight, and so we will further discuss this in a public hearing in 3 weeks. If I could call for a motion to approve ordinance 1333 on initial posting.
Motion to approve ordinance 1333 on initial posting.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Here we go. Hillary got the second this time. Sally.
Thank you. The motion is to approve ordinance 1333 and set the public hearing for September 6th, 2018. Ms. Case?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Ms. Labar?
Yes.
Mayor Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunier?
Yes.
Mr. Sawyer?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Carr.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Tanner, for all your hard work. I know this is not something that anybody wants to do, but I know we all feel like we got to pay our bills and do it the right way, and you guys are providing great leadership. So thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Tanner.
Okay, we'll move on to public hearings. Number 9A, and Chrissy Stapleford. This is kind of exciting.
Good evening. Tonight I have...
Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to read the QJ announcement before you start. Just for 1 minute. Council members use electronic devices to access the materials relevant to the public hearing before us. Be assured that it is the common practice of this City Council that these devices are not being used for texting, emailing, or other communications during these public hearings. Thank you, Chrissy.
Alrighty, so we have a public hearing for a beer and wine liquor license for Judge's Char Grill, located at 108 East Midland Avenue. They have completed their whole application. They're eligible. The location's eligible to be licensed. The owner, Karen Cassell, is here this evening if you guys have any questions for her. The application was originally submitted May 15th. It's been posted and run in the Courier. Also, all the fees have been paid and there are no zoning issues. Does anybody have any liquor questions for me?
Liquor questions for Chrissy. Let's let Karen come up and say a few words and introduce herself.
Hi everybody, my name is Karen Castle. Everybody says Cassell. We did open up the restaurant June 16th. It's Judge's Char Grill. I'd like to invite everybody to come out, even the public here. We recognize a few faces that have been in, we appreciate that. We are a family restaurant. Just kind of the items on our menu with char grill burgers. It's just like if you were cooking at your home. We do have a char grill. The flames come up, wonderful taste. Burgers, French fries, chicken fried steak. We do have several steak options. Again, we're a family restaurant. I am adding the beer and wine simply because I had so many people asking me for it. It's not a bar. It's nothing like that. So it's definitely a family-oriented establishment. We've been residents here for 18 years, but just part-time. My home is in Oklahoma. That's where my kids, my 8 grandchildren are, so obviously that's where my heart is. We will be here more, though, because of the restaurant. We love this community, love this town. If you've ever been, everybody knows this area because it is small. I love that about the town. But anywhere in my restaurant, if you walk around, you just look out the window and you see Pikes Peak. I just can't say enough about this community, the people. Chrissy, finally got to meet her in person when I got here in June, the day before we opened the restaurant. And she has been wonderful, as have been so many people in the community. So I did want to take this opportunity to say thank you. And that you guys, whoever runs this community, and the public, the residents, amazing. I'm local, but I'm an outsider, so I'm not involved like everybody else is. But you guys do a good job. Everybody's been a pleasure. It's been great meeting people, new people every day. I know we've done great at the restaurant. It's been busy, just wonderful. A lot of tourists, which I'm learning that will phase out. But I will say this, I've met so many locals, and they come in every 2 or 3 days and want to support me. I mean, they're encouraging. So again, just letting you know that everything you guys do to help your community, I'm local, but an outsider too. We see it, and it's wonderful, so we appreciate it so much. And any questions for me?
Hello, Murph and I might have a question. It says here, Murph, the best food in town.
Hey, remember, I just want to get along.
We're just kidding. We're thrilled to have you. We really are. I think everyone agrees that's in our business. The more, the merrier. And it's really going to benefit all of us. So I already told you more than once, wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate that.
We're here to help you any way we can, and we want you to be successful. So thank you very much. Council, any other questions for Karen?
And two, I might point out, I mean, local businesses, even other restaurants, have come and supported me. I support them. So that's another thing I notice this community does. It's not we're against each other. There's plenty of business for everybody. Everybody supports each other, and I appreciate that. It's wonderful.
You're not changing your closing hours when and if you get the beer and wine license?
It's still going to be 11 to 9 every day, but I will say this. A gentleman from a church came in today, and he said when football starts up, and they want to come in on Monday nights. You know, the games last past 9. And I told them, not a problem. We'll just stay open until you're ready to go home. So that's not a problem.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, be careful is right.
I know, I might, with limitations for sure, but
Great. Thanks very much, Karen.
thank you.
You bet.
Is that everything, Chrissy? Oh, we are good. All right.
We
then
are good.
I'm going to head back to the restaurant. Is that okay? I don't need to.
You want to wait? You want to wait for the vote?
We'll be done here in like 30 seconds.
Okay, council. We are in public hearing right now. Would anybody like to come forward and say anything? This would be your time. Okay, seeing none. Council need a motion to approve liquor license for Karen Castle and Karen Castle.
Motion to approve.
Judges Charbroil. Thank you.
Second.
And a second. Sally.
Thank you. The motion is to approve the beer and wine liquor license for Karen Castle. Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Ms. Labar?
Yes.
Mayor Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunier?
Yes.
Mr. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carr?
Yes.
And Ms. Case?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Sally. Karen, congratulations. Best of luck. Please do. Okay, we're going to move on to public hearing number 2 and 9B, and Laura Pellegrino.
Thank you, Mayor Levy, members of council, and members of the audience. This is an application, vacation number 18-006. It's an application to vacate an easement. The applicant is Ronald G. Hayworth. He is the property owner, and he is not here today. And he is being represented by Scott Yeager, who I do not believe is here either. So no one from the applicant is here today. It is to consider ordinance number 1332, which is an ordinance to vacate a platted 20-foot wide by 134.56-foot long utility and drainage easement located at 1250 Northwoods Drive, Woodland Park. It is that easement between lot number 93 and lot number 94 in the Northwood subdivision, filing number 4 in the suburban residential zone district. So because this was a plat in the Northwood subdivision and the plat dedicated the utility easement, we are here in front of council with an ordinance to remove that easement. Staff does find that the request to vacate that easement will have no adverse effect on utilities, on access, on road construction, area traffic patterns, and or adjacent landowners, and does comply with the criteria we have established for vacating a utility easement. The deeds of all affected lots are in the same tenancy. The easement vacation correlates with a lot line vacation, which is an administrative process to remove the lot line between the two lots and merge it into one lot, into a single contiguous tract of land. The easement vacation conforms to the goals and objectives of the city's comprehensive plan and the suburban residential zone district regulations, and will not adversely affect any legal right of any adjoining property owner or person, and the property owner is aware that any and all unnecessary water and sewer services, taps, and infrastructure will be abandoned. A draft of the ordinance number 1332, series 2018, was included in the packet for the council members to review, and it did include an exhibit. That concludes my presentation tonight. Mayor, are there any questions of me?
Good question. Council. This should be an easy one. We are in public comment. Anybody like to comment before we move forward? Okay, Laura, thank you very much. Council, call for a motion to approve ordinance number 1332.
Motion to approve ordinance 1332 as presented.
Second.
Thank you, and a second by Paul and Sally.
Thank you. The motion is to approve ordinance 1332. Ms. Labar?
Yes.
Mayor Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunier?
Yes.
Mr. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Case?
Yes.
And Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Sally. Thanks, Laura. We're going to give you one more chance tonight. Agenda item 9C.
Thank you, Mayor Levy, members of council. This is an application for the City of Woodland Park Ordinance Number 1324, Series 2018. It is an ordinance amending the Woodland Park Municipal Code, Sections 1806578 and Section 1809090V3 regarding mini storage warehouse use. Tonight is the public hearing. Today is August 16, 2018, and it is the public hearing on this ordinance. The council first reading was held on August 2nd, and it has gone through numerous review by the Planning Commission, including meetings on July 12th, where the Planning Commission did have its public hearing on this ordinance as presented tonight, and did approve it to come forward with a recommendation of approval for this council. They also had work sessions on June 14th and May 10th, and a preliminary public hearing on April 12th, 2018. So the Planning Commission has done a very thorough analysis of this regulation change, and as is their mandate, they have vetted it very well for your council review and consideration. So this proposed code amendment proposes to eliminate the 300 square foot maximum area for storage compartments, so that personal property such as cars, RVs, trailers, trucks, motorcycles, all-terrain vehicles, those types of things can be stored in a commercial facility. So it amends Section 1809090V3A, which relates to mini storage warehouse uses. It also changes self-storage from a permitted to a conditional use, and what that does is change the process by which an applicant comes forward with a land use application. A permitted use is an administrative use. A conditional use is a use that goes through the Planning Commission, gets reviewed and assessed by them with a public hearing process, and then comes forward to to City Council for their review and approval. So all self-storage facilities now go through a conditional use permit. That would be the change that we're proposing. And that's for self-storage's uses within the heavy service commercial light industrial zone, Section 1809090V3. We're also proposing to change the reference from mini storage to self-storage, and from household material to personal property within the definition of what we currently call mini storage uses. And that's Section 1809090V3, and changes to 1806578, which is the definition section of the municipal code. We are also correcting a typo in the PUD zone in the matrix for land uses, where right now it says C for conditional, and it is incidentally the only line item that has a C in it, where all other PUD uses have a PC, which is permitted conditionally. So we believe this was a typo, and now a mini storage warehouse, a self-storage facility permitted within a PUD, is a permitted conditional use. And a PUD process, you'll remember, many of you have seen these come forward, it goes through an elaborate and extensive and intensive process with Planning Commission review and public hearing, and then City Council review and public hearing as well. So none of that has changed. And any other changes that you see in red with the packet that was attached are incidental and miscellaneous changes to help clarify the regulation itself. So why is staff doing this? Why is this even being proposed? Staff believes that this change will fill a use gap in the city, where currently many don't have space to park their RVs on their site, or they don't have a garage. This would allow for RVs to park in commercial facilities, undercover, totally enclosed, and it would shelter their RVs or their boats or their 12 motorcycles or whatever personal property or household materials they have. It responds, we believe, to a community need. We continually get enforcement questions on RVs and the appearance of multiple RVs stored outside on a particular property. So this provides a need, this fills a need to park RVs where some HOAs, for instance, and some covenants don't allow them to have RVs outside on their lot. This will provide space for them to park it in a sheltered area. This also provides opportunities and flexibilities for the storage industry. And right now, the storage industry offers various different compartment sizes depending on the needs of the market that's out there and the need for different sizes of compartments to store all kinds of stuff. Also provides flexibility and opportunities for residents to store additional items. And it would require a planning commission review process for all self-storage facilities. And of course, that would be a recommendation from the planning commission, and then it would come forward to city council for their final review and approval on that use. So it creates more review for these types of uses. So just going through the ordinance as written, everything in red is what's new. Everything that's crossed out is what's being deleted with this ordinance. So section 1806-578 is the definitions section of the municipal code, and we are changing mini storage to self-storage because really without a compartment limitation, it's not mini anymore, so it's more self-storage, which is what the industry typically refers to itself anyway. So we're changing that reference, and we're changing household materials to personal property, and the reason we're doing that is because the matrix refers to personal property, and we're being consistent in that. This is the matrix. This is the excerpt that deals with V3, which is the section dealing with self-storage warehouses. You can see that the definition change, the reference is now self-storage throughout. We've changed it from a permitted use to a conditional use in heavy service light industrial zones, so that it is now in all of the uses, in all of the zone districts where it is permitted, it's a conditional use. And again, remember, a conditional use is planning commission review and then city council approval. And here's where we corrected the typo for PUDs. Planned unit developments proposing warehouses are now permitted conditionally, which is consistent with how every other PUD for every other use is handled. You can see we've crossed out the no single storage compartment shall have a floor area exceeding 300 square feet. That is the proposal to eliminate the 300 square foot compartment size, which we believe limits the industry and limits residential opportunities. We are also looking at deleting the last clause in section B, where it states, and no other use shall be permitted except a manager's office or residence, which is clearly residential to the principal use. We're finding that many of the mini warehouses, self-storage facilities, no longer have a manager on site, and there's no need for that any longer, and so this use is irrelevant. It's not even many of the industries that come in, many of the facilities and the self-storage facilities that come in have no desire to have a residence on site. There shall be no outside storage of goods or materials of any type on the site. We reworded this to make it more clear so that it simply states storage of personal property shall be within an enclosed building. And then we just changed on D the word site to a lot, simply because we have a definition for what a lot is, but we don't have a definition for a site. So that's just a miscellaneous change. And then again, under E, we just changed, we added self-storage in front of warehouse just to be consistent with the reference throughout. So those are the changes we're proposing. That's ordinance number 1324. It has gone through an extensive review by the Planning Commission, numerous public input at all of those meetings. And tonight we are here for the public hearing in front of City Council, and I am available to answer any questions, Mayor.
Thanks very much, Laura. Carol, would you like to start?
Laura, a couple of questions. You can call me anything but late to dinner. It's fine. Laura, the definition of enclosed building, I've had questions on that. Does that mean that the facility must have a roof, or that the enclosure is opaque, or can it be chain link fence? What would you define enclosed building as?
A roof and walls.
And then the second question I had, so the newest project that we discussed a couple of weeks ago, would they have to come back for conditional use on this or not?
No. We wrote the ordinance, and the ordinance was approved by council with the provision that if that regulation changes, then they are good to go. They would be fine.
I wish I was here the last couple meetings to have a bigger picture of what's going on here. I'm going to ask a few questions that'll lead up to something here. How many mini storages do we have currently in the city?
Done the research.
I can count 3 off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's some hidden.
You know, I want to say about 5, but let me just see if I can find my notes.
So let's just say 5. This new ordinance will allow them to redesign their mini storage. Is that true?
They can, if they can comply with these requirements. They can, you know, make their compartment sizes bigger. Yes.
Okay, because most of them are less than 300 square feet, and I see the need if we're going to store trailers with ATVs or vehicles. Do you see a downside to this?
I do not. I believe these changes will provide greater opportunities and flexibility for both the industry and for residents in the city.
And are we only doing this because of this new self-storage that's potentially going to be built in Woodland Park?
No. This has been on the books for the planning department since about,
The timing is suspicious, that's all.
It's been on the books, and we've wanted to change this to increase the flexibility since, I want to say, about 2007. And this is now the time that we finally got to it. No doubt the application that came in and was approved by council a few weeks ago or last month precipitated more discussion. And we certainly ran the idea by them, and they were all in favor of it. This is a new facility they're proposing, and it's state-of-the-art, meeting the new industry standards, and this is very much in line with what they would like to see, and we believe that meeting the industry standards and trying to comply with their needs is just as important as trying to provide opportunities and flexibilities for the residents.
And I tried to think of a downfall of it, and I do see a lot of cars parked outside, and you wonder why, because they have their ATVs or their boat inside. So this will give them an opportunity to have space for their cars if they decide to use facilities like this. I'm just curious. Obviously, there's things, unintended consequences we'll only know through time. But it just, the timing is suspicious here, that's all. So, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple questions. B, which is now A on this slide here, you eliminated the language about "and no other use shall be permitted except a manager's office or residence," blah, blah, blah. Why is it necessary to eliminate that clause? Because I'm familiar with several facilities in the Springs that have that in there. It seems to me that by eliminating that, we risk confusion there, and taking it out isn't helpful to somebody who actually wants to do that. I think that's a question, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we were proposing to eliminate it was because it was creating confusion. So it was almost a mixed use, where you're allowing a residential use in with a commercial use. And the whole purpose of this row, this use, was mini storage warehouse. So there was confusion in that respect, and the Planning Commission decided to just eliminate it. It wasn't a request by the industry. It's not happening, and it's not even necessary in today's market.
However, it seems to me by eliminating that, we're all aware, since we went through this a few weeks ago, that they do have an office on this new one. And by eliminating this, there's no inclusive language here for that purpose.
An office is incidental to the primary use. You don't need to label it, you don't need to call it out, you don't need to list it. It's incidental to that use, just as selling boxes is incidental, a retail use that's incidental to the primary use, which is the mini storage warehouse, the self-storage.
So they're not going to have a problem with planning if they have an office, obviously.
No, not an office.
So my second situation is the striking of A, which is no single storage exceeding 300 square feet. What prevents this mini warehouse from being a real warehouse? In other words, you have an infinite possibility here of a huge 10,000 by 10,000 warehouse because there's no limit. I would suggest some sort of limit, like 300 is not enough to store anything. I would say 1250, 50 by 25, something like that. So what's the thinking on that to eliminate the possibility of a mini warehouse becoming a real warehouse?
Well, for instance, the application that we reviewed just recently is 72,000 square feet. Does it matter what size the compartments are? They all fit within an enclosed building, so there's no need to limit the compartment size. The limits of the building itself are controlled by the setbacks and the site plan and all of those criteria, the width of the aisles between the buildings. So there's no correlation between the compartment size and the building size, and there's no need to control a compartment size. The only reason to have compartment sizes is there is no need to have a compartment size. The only reason not to have a compartment size, let me do this again. There's no need for any compartment size limitations. It's only restricted by what the residents and the industry wants, and what they can sell, and what people have a need for.
Do we have any code that specifically talks about warehouses, not self-storage warehouses?
Yes, we have the other sections, V4, for instance, which is the commercial professional storage, has no limitation on compartment sizes.
Right, thank you.
What I hear you saying is that there are other sections of the code that control the building size, and that's where you look for that guidance.
Yes.
The compartment size in this matrix is not the limiting factor. It is the buildings and other sections of the code.
Yes.
Thank you.
Council, anybody else?
Oh, let me just throw something out there.
Throw something.
Okay. I want to talk. I did notice that there was a 72-hour limit on anything parked outside. Right?
Correct. That's for vehicles and rights of ways. Is that what you're thinking?
But that also controls RV boats or anything just being out there for any length of time. Thank you very much.
Okay, audience. We are in public hearing. Anybody like to comment? Laura, thanks very much for your time. Council, we have any other questions before we move forward? If not, call for a motion to approve ordinance 1324.
Motion to approve ordinance 1324 as written.
Thank you. A second by Councilman Sawyer. Sonia, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Mayor Levy.
Yes.
Mr. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Saunier.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carr.
No.
Ms. Case.
Yes.
Ms. Harvey.
Yes, and thank you to the extensive work you went through on this, and thanks to the Planning Commission as well.
Ms. LaBarre.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Council. Okay, we move forward. We have no new business tonight, so we'll move on to reports. There's a couple that I've got to read that are important. And I'm going to start with this Saturday. Jim Spieth, who some of you know that were involved with VFW or American Legion, passed away about a month ago. 92 years old. I think our last, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul?
That is our last.
Our last World War II veteran in our community. I was so fortunate because of Dan Williams to spend an hour or two with Jim and Dan the last week or two of his life, and just to sit and listen to him was amazing. He was just a guy that was all about service and everybody else, and even the day I went to see him with Dan, he's saying things like, I feel fine. They tell me I'm going to die, but I feel fine, and I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. Great attitude, great gentleman. Was honored to get a chance to meet him, and so this Saturday at 2 o'clock at the VFW. Let me make sure I get this right. Saturday at 2 o'clock, I know for sure. Let me make sure I tell everybody the right place. 1 second, excuse me. This is really important. Okay, it's at the Legion Hall. My bad. Legion Hall, 2 o'clock on the 18th. Dan Williams will officiate. Mr. Spieth will have family there, and I would love to see as many of you as possible to that event, because he wasn't a Woodland Park citizen like Eric Dixon was, but he too, provided great leadership for our country, and in a sense we wouldn't be here without the likes of him. So anyway, Legion Hall, the 18th at 2 o'clock. Okay, next I want to kind of follow up and read the hard copy of the invitation for Eric Dixon so everybody knows. And once again, thanks to Murph and everybody at VFW, American Legion. Could go on and on with the group that has led this initiative on behalf of Eric Dixon. The invitation reads, "You are cordially invited to help us dedicate the Eric V. Dixon Memorial at Memorial Park in Woodland Park, Teller County on the 25th of August, as Murph said, at 11 o'clock. Lance Corporal Eric V. Dixon, a member of B Company, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, was killed in action near Quang Tri, Republic of Vietnam, when he received fragmentation wounds to the body from a hostile explosion device while on patrol May 31st, 1968, and is the only member of the armed forces killed in action in the Vietnam War from Teller County. His memorial was vandalized, as some of you know, in the years following the Vietnam War, and finally its remnants taken down and nearly forgotten. 50 years later, his surviving friends, fellow veterans, local business leaders, and residents from Teller County and surrounding communities privately raised $80,000 to honor Eric's sacrifice and life. We would be honored to have you attend the unveiling ceremony. Please RSVP, if you could, to Dan Williams. He's the county planner and easy to get a hold of. But this will be a great event for our community, and again, like some that we've had just recently, this is really what we're all about. So it's really important that everybody does their best to attend that and pay their respects and honor Eric Dixon. Okay, tomorrow, as every Friday through September 28th, we will have Farmers Market in Memorial Park from 8 to 1. Thursday, August 16th through the 19th, in full action already, is the Woodland Park Rock Gem and Jewelry Store at the Woodland Park Saddle Club grounds. Friday the 17th, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, and Saturday the 18th at 10, the second annual Pikes Peak Barbecue Showdown at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. That's always well attended. Saturday, also this Saturday, the 31st annual Salute to American Veterans Rally beginning at the Woodland Park High School. That's the motorcycle rally, and one of the reasons that the event for Jim Spieth is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Murph, help me with that. What time? Is that 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock on the bike ride on Saturday?
That's when they start.
I believe it's 10 o'clock.
They assemble at 8.
Okay. Sunday, this Sunday, 2 to 3:15, the Woodland Park Music Series Pikes Peak Brass Band at the Midland Pavilion. This coming Tuesday, August 21st, from 5:30 to 7, This month's Chamber Business After Hours will be at the Caldwell Banker Building. Wednesday, we'll have the Business Roundtable. I know that Betty Clark Wine will be there, and the title is Ask the Assessor, and she gave a great presentation, did she not, Deb? She gave a great presentation last week to DDA, and she's willing to come back and answer any and all questions. And so that's kind of a complicated issue for some. So if you have any questions, that would be a great time to be there. That's August 22nd. Business Roundtable at what time, Deb? 7:30 at the Cultural Center. Thank you. And then Thursday, September 6th, 11:31 is the Chamber Lunch and Learn. Millennials, Gen Xers, and Boomers. Synergistic strategies for your business at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, I want to follow up on the presentations we made. Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. I had the honor to go along with some of the board members and see these beautiful yards. And we don't grow anything in our yard anymore. The deer eat everything, even the deer-proof plants. They really love deer-proof plants. But I realized that if you have an 8-foot fence, or maybe only a 6-foot fence, you can keep the deer out, and the Langleys and Rasmussens have tremendous. We couldn't really do justice with the pictures we had, but it's just amazing what you can do here. I was shocked. We gave up about a decade ago trying to grow anything here, but apparently you can grow all kinds of things, and they're really worthwhile driving by those residences if you want, because they're just spectacular. And I appreciate that we have master gardeners who know how to do those kind of things, as opposed to my wife and I, which both have black thumbs and love the deer. So, thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Yes, I'd like to, as a member of the Ute Pass Symphony Guild, announce that we have reserved the pavilion area of Memorial Park for 2 to 6 p.m. on September 30th. We're going to have a mini concert to try and honor our sponsors and supporters and provide the community with some music to make up for the cancellation of Symphony Above the Clouds on July 5th. So look for more to come on that, but I wanted everyone to know that we have secured a date, and we will be honoring our sponsors, providing. Carrie Dell's agreed to play. She was our opening act, so she'll be playing, and I think we're going to have a small ensemble from the Symphony Guild, from the Philharmonic out of Colorado Springs to entertain us. So look forward to that, and I'll keep you updated as that planning progresses. We are meeting as a board to plan that and move forward with a makeup concert, if you will. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Carol?
Nothing, sir.
Hillary?
Nothing today.
Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to thank all the volunteers, Main Street, and the other organizations. They're doing a great job, and I've been privileged to be able to attend the meetings as a liaison. And I just see a lot of good people doing a lot of hard work, and it shows. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Paul. Absolutely. Noel?
I'd just like to remind the community that the morning traffic jams are going to start next Wednesday on the 22nd when kids are trying to get back to, the parents are trying to take their kids back to school. So just reminder that you're going to see a lot more traffic next Wednesday, and school starts, and at 3:30 also. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, City Attorney report? Nothing, thank you. And Sally?
Thank you, Mayor Levy. We have one presentation this evening, and I'll turn it over to Mike Farina.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is to provide City Council with an update, a 6-month update of the new position that was approved in the 2018 budget. Back when the budget was approved, we were asked to bring forward a 6-month report on all the accomplishments of what this position has been done, and it's a full-time in-house IT position. Prior to that, we were getting 30 hours a month or 35 hours a month in customer support under Peak Internet. So now we have, which equates to about 420 hours per year now we have over 2,080 hours per year with that full-time position, and that's just at a 40-hour per week rate, which I know the person that we hired is putting in more than 2,080 hours per year. So anyway, again, I want to say thank you for approving that full-time position. Last year, as part of the budget, it was a sorely needed position. And I think you've all met Jeremy Barnes, who is sitting back in the back there. He is the person that we hired, and we're very lucky to have found him. He brings a wealth of knowledge to the city in regards to IT, and everybody is very happy in how he works with them, and he's very responsive, friendly, professional, courteous, and does a very good job with what he's been brought in to do. Also, I want to thank Peak Internet for the smooth transition and the transfer of knowledge to Jeremy on the city's IT infrastructure, and also bringing Jeremy up to speed with his role. They were very helpful in bringing Jeremy up to speed. So again, thank you to Peak Internet. So in terms of what's been accomplished, customer service, I would say, has improved greatly. And again, that's not a bad reflection on Peak Internet. It's just the number of hours that were part of the contract that were allowed under the contract. It's just, our needs from an IT standpoint grew. Peak Internet's other business grew as well, and they were just not able to meet the customer or the IT needs that we were getting from a customer service standpoint. So again, bringing in this position full-time, we were able to handle that. And for example, by way of number of help tickets, in this past 6 months, the number of tickets closed in the 6 months is 2.5 times what was closed in the previous 6 months. Also, computers and the network do not go down as frequently as they used to. I was probably getting calls once a week, or Peak was once a week about, and just from within the finance department, computers went down or the network went down, and we were unable to get our jobs done multiple times. And that has pretty much come to a halt. First of all, because we have somebody in-house that can respond to it quickly, but then also troubleshoot the problems that were causing it to go down and fix that so it doesn't continue. Also, I just want to say that if I've frequently heard from customer users that the support that they receive, they're very thrilled and very happy with the service that they're receiving. So again, the number of tickets getting closed has gone up, as well as customer satisfaction, meaning our IT users. I always receive excellent feedback regarding the improvement in customer service. There's also been cost savings that have resulted. For example, multiple computers have been rebuilt by Jeremy and then rearranged to better serve city staff. He's also, once dead MDC laptops that are used in police cruisers, they've also been rebuilt and then reinstalled into the cruisers and are now put to use at no cost. Also, in addition to customer service issues and saving money, Jeremy's also working on plans, developing policies related to improve the city's aging IT infrastructure, disaster mitigation, recovery and continuity of operations. He's drafting IT policies and procedures, looking at the recommendations which you received in when our auditors were here. They did an audit of our IT our technology and put forth recommendations. Jeremy is looking at all those and developing plans to improve in those areas. He's also looking at long-term plans for IT replacement and improvement needs, and that then can be considered as part of future year budget development. So, just in a nutshell, this highlights some of the many things that having a full-time position, IT position in-house. It's just the number of hours that we have, and we also, for me and Suzanne, somebody that speaks the language. I'd get complaints, or we'd be talking to Peak Internet about improvements that are needed or IT, and that's over my head. I'm just a bean counter, so IT is way over my head. Now we have somebody on staff that understands it, and it's very evident, when I'm talking to Jeremy and as he's telling me and relaying to me things that he's going back and forth with Peak Internet. So that's your 6-month update, and Jeremy's here also, and if there are any questions from council to me or to Jeremy, we're here to answer.
I'll just start quickly. And you guys both have your hand up, and you're the ones I want to recognize. I want to thank Val and Noel, because if I remember correctly, they're the ones that led this charge to change what we had to having a guy on the staff all the time. So thank you guys for that. And Jeremy, I'll just reiterate what Mike just said, and it comes mostly from staff because they're the only ones that I have some interaction with, and just great job, and we really appreciate it and hope we have you around for a long time. So thanks very much. Val?
Thank you, sir. A bean counting question. Does that mean we have 2,500 hours of support? In other words, peak internet hasn't gone away. We still have those hours available, right?
No, remember back last year when we were talking about it, there was concern about duplication of costs related to customer service, and we're still paying the amount that the $2,500 amounted to, or that the customer service support amounted to. However, it was moved to a different area that will also fix needs. We had 10 megabytes per second Ethernet going between facilities. Now that cost from that customer service contract, part of the contract, has been transferred to increase it from 10 megabytes per second to 100 megabytes per second between several different facilities.
So we've just changed the value added to a different category.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No?
Great news, Mike. Thank you. Long term, IT department, more employees for IT?
Possibly. That's another thing that Jeremy will be looking at, and looking at our needs, and of course it would have to be part of a longer term financial plan, and just to see where it fits within all other priorities.
Maybe a technical question for Jeremy. Solid states? I guess he can introduce himself, because this will be a good opportunity.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is Jeremy Barnes, our IT system specialist. That he actually started on February 2nd, so his 6-month anniversary was August 2nd. And here we are just a couple weeks later presenting the 6-month update. Jeremy comes to the city from the school district, where he was a help desk technician at the school district for 3 years. And again, we're very happy that we found him and have him here at the city now.
I'm glad to hear that you're taking the older laptops and just rebuilding them. I mean, that's the best way to go. A lot of people think they need to buy a new computer, but it's the habits of the user that cause the computer to slow down, not the computer itself. My question is, solid states, where are you going with that?
It'll depend on budget, definitely, but for now, pushing for laptops, yes, and in fact, most of the MDCs in the police cruisers already had them. There's stability issues and long-term issues when you have a spinning disk in a car that's doing this down the road. For desktops, it depends. I think there's quite a few deployed right now, but it'll just kind of depend on budget and what staff need.
That's great to hear, because and I think increasing the internet speed to 100 meg probably solved about 50% of the problems, because most of your applications were online, and 10 meg supporting 60 people or more is probably down to dial-up speed. So 100 meg is great. So this is great news, Mike. Thank you. And I think we should continue this and really look 5 years, 10 years down the road for a department and more IT employees. I think we're going to get more IT involved here. I think this town's going to make this major leap in the next several years, and we're going to need that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy. Great job.
Mayor, council members.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Anything else, Mike?
That concludes that update.
Great. Sally?
It's all for us.
That's all you have.
Yes.
Before we leave, I see that we have a school board member here, and also one of our very finest police officers, Beth Huber. I just want to say this. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with Steve Wolf and with Kevin today, our new principal. Just a great job by the school board and their hiring and what's going on at the school and the excitement. We got better overnight, I think, because of what you did and who you brought in, and I really think it's going to show itself here this year. It's going to bring some great things to our community. So thanks very much. Be sure that the school board knows how we feel about that. Just outstanding. Okay, council, staff, anything else? This meeting's adjourned.